Okay, hey everyone, today I'm going to teach you how to solve the corners. There's only one swapping alg, the modified Y-perm, which I discussed in the first video. The buffer piece is sticker A, as was for edges sticker B. There's only one setup position, sticker L, where edges had C and D. So that's why we only have one algorithm, so only L. The list for all the setup moves is in the description, but it is quite easy to figure them out as well. This time you may not disturb this corner and these two edges, so the only setup moves you may use are F, D, and R. Okay, so let's use a quick example. So we start by the buffer piece, that goes to R, and that goes back here to P, and that goes to the buffer, so the cube is solved. So R, remember you cannot use any U, L, or B moves because that disturbs these three pieces. Okay, so for R we can just set it up to L with an F2, swapping out, undo. Then for P we just do a D prime, which sets that up. Some targets are hard, but I've got some easy guidelines for you. For any of the faces F, L, R, B, the fourth targets of each face, H, L, P, and T, you can set up with some kind of D move to L position. For any of the D targets, you set up to the U position, so W would be D2, and then you do an F prime into that. The rest you should be able to figure out. If not, your knowledge from edge solving should help you catch on corners quite easily. There's not much to it, it's just a different approach to the same concept. Cycle breaks work exactly the same, and basically all you need to do is set up, do the swapping out, undo the setup, and repeat until the cube is solved. We have a formula again, but this time the end result should not be 11 but 7. Corner twists do work differently. Since edge flips can only have solved or they can be flipped, corners can be rotated clockwise or counterclockwise. We have to deal with them differently. So basically, I've got an easy guideline. You shoot to the sticker. You can shoot to any sticker, but an easy way to remember, or an easy way to approach this, is to always shoot to the white or yellow sticker. So if it's one of these targets, it will be the yellow. If it is one of these targets, it will be white. So in this case, that will be this sticker, which is T, and then go to where it should be, which will be that same piece's D sticker. So that just makes it a bit easier. So this would be TX. If it was this corner twisted like that, it would be I and then C. You could do CE, but CF, sorry, but it doesn't really matter. So let's just do this quickly. So T, set up with a D2, and then X, you set up to there, F prime. Okay, let's do a quick example. The scramble is on screen now. You don't have to follow along too much because I haven't taught you how to memo, but I'm putting the memo on screen so we can just reference to it. So we're going to S, M, that is the buffer piece, we have to cycle break. I usually cycle break to L if it's open because it requires no setup move, so L, then E, P, C, T, G, and since we cycle break to L and we reach another sticker on the same piece, that means the cycle is ended. And using the formula, we just did 8 letters, so minus the amount of cycle breaks is 1, so that's then 7, minus amount of twists, 0, and add the number of solved pieces, there are 0 as well. So okay, moving on, let's get into execution. So S, M, okay, cycle break to L, okay, E, P, C, which by the way is just a normal Y perm if you didn't notice, T, and then G. There are different setup types, so there might be another way to set up a sticker which I didn't do now, or mine might differ from yours. That's fine. If it works for you, that's good. For example, I know this one here, F, I do R prime, or well, R2 D prime, but there's an alternate F2 D which also works, but I just find that to be easier for me than that. So yeah, let's quickly talk about parity, because that's basically the last thing I have to go over. If you're going to be doing execution only solves, so basically just hand scramble your cube wherever you are and just do the execution method. So from a scrambled cube, you just look where the buffer piece is, execute that, and go on and on. You will never have parity. Now that might seem weird, so I'm just quickly going to explain why that works, how that works. So without your memo, you won't know if you did, or without counting how many times you swapped your edges, you won't know if you have an uneven or even amount when you finish. So as you can see here, this is our last edge sticker we need to do, and then we're finished. But this could have been I could have done an even amount of swaps at this moment, or I could have done an uneven amount. So depending on that, because I don't know that at all. So if I swap now, I might have done an equal amount of swaps, an even amount of swaps up until now to finish the cube, or an uneven. So if I had done an uneven amount, then that means I I should have parity, but there's no visual signs that shows that I do have parity, although these two corners are incorrectly swapped at this moment. So since you scrambled the cube and started executing edges, these two have now swapped many times, and they've ended up being swapped like this instead of how they should be like that. Hypothetically, if this was a parity solve, which it could or could not be, so which this may or may not be. So that's why you won't ever have parity, because if you do have parity at this moment, you'll just basically end up solving corners a different way. That's why a good practice thing to do now before I release the memo video, which is the next one, is to scramble the cube up and write down all the memorization for edges and then for corners, and solve it all while holding the cube under the table, or not looking at the cube but just using the paper. So that's kind of like a cheat sheet, and thus you will see if you've done an uneven amount, you do need to execute the parity algorithm, which is this R perm, which I also discussed in video 1, and that will then swap these two corners back into their correct spots, and swap these two edges, which you will fix by doing an uneven amount of Y perms to fix them in the end. So if you have an uneven amount, just do the parity alg. So you won't encounter parity if you're just scrambling a cube and just doing the execution, and that's the reason why. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. In the next video, I will show you how to memorize. It's quite easy actually, and you only need to memorize between 18 and 23 letters per solve, and it gets really easy, I promise. So I'll also be going through full example solves, so if you have any like confusion about something, then I'll probably hopefully clear that up. Otherwise, ask questions down below if you struggle or anything, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.